President Donald Trump tonight is admitting he has some responsibility in the riot. He told that to Fox News. Now, sources tell Fox News he made that known during a conversation with White House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy. However, the push for the president to be impeached continues. Elected officials still fighting for impeachment so that he won't be able to run for office again in the future. And our panel joins us now to discuss the future of President Donald Trump. Charles Adams, let's begin with you. Do you think the Democrats' effort to impeach the president, there are two resolutions on the table. They could vote as soon as Tuesday or Wednesday on these impeachment proceedings. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are clearly there's a lot of blood on his hands, especially for the loss of life at the Capitol, specifically Officer Sicknick and the officer that took his own life 2 days later. I think it's a tragedy. I think it's heartbreaking. I don't see Miss Babbitt as the martyr that she is being portrayed as, but I do think it's a tremendous tragedy that she lost her life as well. I think it's a horrifying circumstance. However, and I have not been a fan of President Trump from before he was a president. I do think there are far more important things than making sure that he doesn't get his benefits after he is done, or making sure he doesn't have the opportunity to run again. The fact that this vaccine is not being rolled out uniformly across this country is horrifying. The job the president has done has been horrifying, but the job that state governments across this country, including on the left with Cuomo, is equally horrifying. We need to get the business of America at hand, and that is not removing Trump. We unelected him on November 6th. The business at hand is getting this pandemic behind us, and I think it's a problem, and I think it needs to be the focus, and I don't think impeachment should be.
Fairly, your thoughts on it?
I think that impeachment is appropriate here, and as a Republican, I'm sad to say that, it's fine. I need for our Republican leadership to step up and actually support these efforts to censor or penalize the president, because this is America. I may be a Republican, but this is America. And what happened last Wednesday is unacceptable. It is not acceptable no matter what political party that you are in. And I have defended the president for a long time, but what he did on Wednesday was absolutely unacceptable, and it's completely un-American. He needs to be punished, and I don't know if the impeachment is successful at this stage, but something needs to happen so that he cannot run for public office again. Because when you have your own army and you have your own people that you call up to our nation's capital and commit that kind of violence, we've been down that road. It was called the Civil War. We don't need to go down that road again.
Dr. Eddie Carter from Prairie View A&M, your thoughts?
Well, I basically concur with the two previous speakers. I think they have valid points. I would add to that there's some degree of relatedness here to the issue of this is a pretty major and significant and radical event that's transpired over the past week. And so because of that, we can't simply look past it and try to get through the next 2 weeks. In the interest of the future, I would argue that there have to be some consequences, and there has to be some actions taken on behalf of a president who looks as though incited violence toward, from the crowd toward sitting members of the House and the Senate. So I think that it absolutely has to be addressed. Are there other issues in the nation? Absolutely, there are other issues in the nation. But this is a major pressing issue, the consequences of which are very, very significant. And I would submit that it must be addressed, and that the impeachment proceedings is certainly
Charles, let's bring you back into the conversation. You heard the professor say, and fairly, there must be consequences for the president's actions. We know there are bigger issues looming in this country. However, should he be allowed to just walk away freely?
I think his legacy has been destroyed by this. I do think that from a lawyer perspective, causally, it's going to be very hard to link his strident rhetoric to the actual violence that occurred that day. Although he told them to go to the Capitol, that he would follow and fight, I don't think that he can legally. I think it's going to be very hard to link him to the actual, although all of us, I think, agree that he was to blame. And this stop the steal narrative and this months-long grift raising hundreds of millions of dollars with the falsity of election fraud. But I do think that the American people made a choice on November 6th, and that we are completely and totally polarized. And while obviously there should be some sort of consequence, I think the consequence is that his legacy is destroyed, and that we really have to focus. 1 out of every 500 New Yorkers is dead from COVID. I know we have so many people that are pretending there's not excess deaths and this is not a horrible thing, but this is the moment of our generations for the government to step up and do its damn job. And right now, that job is not impeaching Trump. It's getting vaccines to everyone. We are lagging behind other Western and first world nations. We are doing an abysmal job. And I really would like to see Biden, Pelosi, and Schumer, the new leaders of this nation, whether you agree with them or not, get to the work of making America America again. And it's not dragging this out any further.
Now, Farrell, go ahead, Farrell.
It's not dragging it out. We're a smart country. We're a country comprised of very smart people and a lot of resources. We can address COVID and getting the vaccine out and getting people they need. And we can also address a president who has gone off the rails and who did a criminal act. We can do both. We're competent enough in this country to do both. And both needs to be addressed because we cannot afford to let our republic be vulnerable because there's a person in office who is not respecting the rule of law. And as a Republican, that is what I'm big on, the rule of law. And you cannot go around here and charge people who do violent acts. There's all of this intelligence that there's going to be more attacks. We need to focus on both.